So as we move around to the side, we're starting on the right side here. We're going to identify the major components. We'll get into the maintenance side a little bit later, but I want to at least identify what you're looking at. The first thing we're going to do is remove the panel. Now the panel in these are very easy. They're just magnetized, so getting them off is really simple. And we're able to expose the parts that we need to have exposed here. This is a Briggs & Stratton Vanguard engine, 31 horsepower, V, air-cooled. So just to kind of give you an idea where we are on that. To identify the top, we have our air filter, and it's very easy to access. Spin this, take it off, and you've got access to your air filter here on top. We're going to move down. We have our dipstick for our oil, just to maintain and watch that on a very, on a regular basis, watch that. Here is our oil fill port right here. We have our gas filter on the side here. Again, we'll get into the maintenance on that. Identifying this part back here, we got part of it showing out from this panel, is the coupler. Now this coupler does exactly what it says. It couples the engine drive shaft to the blower drive shaft, which is essentially your vacuum. They call it a blower, and I still don't know why. The next item here that we're going to identify is the fuse panel right here. Very easy to get to. Oftentimes when there's a problem, that's one of the first places that we check. Getting back into the front panel, the access to parts here are very readily available, so that maintenance on this is going to be easy to do. Moving back along and getting to the back of the machine here, this is the water box that I referred to before. This is the onboard water box here, and it plays an important role also. So continuing around to the back side, I want to identify a couple of major components here. We can see them from the other side on this left side, but I'm going to show this back side because it really does show a few of the items in detail here. On top we have our high pressure pump. It's a 1500 psi high pressure pump. We have the oil sight glass, very visible here in the back so that you can keep track of the oil level. We have the fill port for that oil as you get into the oil changes on this. You can see the clutch here, and this is going back to the front panel when we discuss whether we can turn the pump off if we want to do an evacuation type of a performance in a flood evacuation. That will turn the clutch off, which takes power away from the high pressure pump. Also on the back here is a good shot of the blower. Again, this is the vacuum part of the system. It is a dual shaft blower. It's a 4007, and what that basically tells us is it has two shafts that are 4 inches in diameter and 7 inches long. It packs a punch as far as the vacuum is concerned. This blower here is what gives us the capabilities, along with the 1500 psi pump, to run 2 wands on a job site without having a shortage of power. While we're here on this side, what I want to identify is there's one here on the end that you can see. There's another one back here. These are the sight glasses for the oil in the blower. The blower has 2 sections that are oiled, one in the back, one in the front. We would fill the oil in the port here. We would drain the oil from these hoses that are drain hoses here, one for each portion of the blower, and I'll get into how to do that and what the maintenance is on that in a few minutes. This particular hose is your drain for your pump. So the pump hose runs down here and it allows an easy drain into a container. The containers are going to be, once they're filled with the old oil, any fluids we bring out of the machine, we want to make sure they're deposited in an EPA approved manner. So let's keep that in mind no matter what we're doing here. Any fluids that we do, we need to make sure they're dumped in an approved area. Down here at the bottom, the last thing I want to bring up, there's our silencer. So that helps keep it quiet. That is basically all it does is just work as a muffler. So as we continue around the machine to the left side of the machine, I'll remove the panels. Again, they are held on with magnets and they're very easy to access these areas. Let's identify some of the things we have here. We did discuss the high pressure pump. This particular unit right here that's attached to the pump is the last step chemical injection unit. So basically this unit is run by one of the pistons on the pump. So as that piston moves in and out on the pump, it actually is a diaphragm inside here that moves back and forth, and that will draw chemical from your chemical jug through this line, injecting it into the flow of the high pressure water. All of that being done outside of the unit itself. No chemicals that you will use on a job are going to be in the interior of this, so we can basically protect the fittings and things depending on what chemicals you're using and what your desired cleaning is. This exposes the second sight glass, which I do want to show, and along with that is the drain hose for this back half, front half in this case, of the blower. So in that case, you've got this all taken care of here. We're going to move forward. We'll stay up top here with the engine itself, the spark plug of course on this side, throttle control. This is the oil cooler for the engine itself. Here is the oil filter. We have a drain tube for the oil from the engine, exposed here, very easy to get to. This might be a good shot. Maybe the other half of the coupler is back in there. This is our large coupler. It's a very stout coupler, designed to withstand all the rigors that you're going to put forth here. Down here at the bottom, we have our air heat exchanger. So the copper tubes that you see, the turns that you see coming through this, back and forth on the other side, the same, it looks identical to this. As your air is moving through in the heat mode, when you're demanding heat, it'll rush through there. There are aluminum fins that are attached to the copper, and that transfers the heat from the air moving through there. It combines the engine exhaust along with the blower exhaust and heat your water before it exits the machine. In the case of a situation where heat is not in demand, there is a diverter door on here that will close. That diverter door will then bypass the air, again the exhaust, around the heat exchanger and out the front. So that's basically how that works, and that pretty well sums up the major components of what we've got going on here. I think next what we should talk about is the maintenance of these items, so let's get started on that.